everyone, and welcome to this regular meeting of the Fruit Heights City Council, April 21st, 2026. And welcome to all who are in attendance. We are glad to get started tonight. It is 7 o'clock. Fruit Heights City Hall, 910 South Mountain Road. So we will get started. We have some good things on the agenda tonight. So Pledge of Allegiance will be offered by, or led by, Eileen, and Mark will share either a prayer or a thought.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I happen to have a nephew that writes each week short messages. And there was a couple of parts of some messages that I just wanted to share. The first one is spoken or written words have power to inspire, to teach, and to encourage. Words also have power to belittle, to mock, and even to destroy. The words we use, whether directed toward ourselves or others, create and set the lens through which we view and navigate the world. May we use our words wisely, recognizing that words have power, even enough power to change the world. And this next one, it says, not far from here lies the world's largest aspen tree. It's known as Pandu. And if you were looking for it, you very well would miss it. Instead of seeing what you might expect, one massive, sprawling, large tree, what you would find is a large grove of aspen trees, numbering more than 40,000, each appearing to be separate, but actually sharing a single root system. The strength of an aspen grove is not found in only one tree, but in the community of trees that share roots and support one another. Likewise, the communities we find ourselves in today also matter. It may be tempting to think that the size and spread of an individual tree is more important than those of our neighbors. But just like the aspen grove, we thrive when we nurture the health and vitality of our collected roots. We are all connected, and when we work together, magnificent things happen. There is power in community, there is strength in connection, and when we work selfishly together, we each are part of something far larger than ourselves.
Very nice, thank you. Those are really great thoughts. Item 1.3, roll call. Haley?
Councilmember Gary Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Mark Cottrell.
Here.
Councilmember David Hill.
Here.
Councilmember Eileen Moss.
Here.
Councilmember Blake Winslow.
Here.
Mayor Jeannie Grober.
Here. Number 2 is declaration of conflicts of interest. Seeing the agenda, or the council members that should declare a conflict of interest this evening. Seeing none. Go on to item 3. We'll do reports. First from council members. I think Mark starts this time.
I don't have anything except for just one little thing. I will need to excuse myself halfway through the meeting, probably for a family situation. So
Okay.
I'll just leave.
Please go ahead and use it. Thank you. David?
All right. I prepared a few thoughts about what I might want to say to the council and to the audience here. I wanted to express some of the kinds of values that we have as a community and some of the things that we look at to each other and we feel are important. First, I want to highlight some of our motto of being good neighbors. We recognize being a city of good neighbors. We look out for each other. We tend to, especially people that are more vulnerable. I see in my own neighborhood, some of the elderly people that others go out of their way to make sure they're okay, especially in emergencies. Now, a recent example we had on the April 16th, this this past week, the Great Shakeout that our city participated in. While we didn't get reports from all the different areas, but those reports where we did get into the city, we had a 47% participation rate from residents. I think that's a great testament that we value working together and collaborating, especially for emergencies. I want to thank the many volunteers, our area coordinators, and the city staff who were involved in that drill. I know behind the scenes, there's a lot of work that happened to make that successful. Especially when I recognize the city staff, Darren is involved a lot. One of the things that I was not aware of until I was on the council is that some of the basic services that we rely on as a community, like your water, your sewer, all the basic things, the city staff actually drives through our neighborhoods when we have emergencies like that, make sure that those basic things are working and functioning. So thank you. The next value that I want to comment on is compassion. This year is our America 250. We are celebrating that. The Christians are heavily involved and leading some volunteer efforts for that. One of the things that, as a state and a nation that we're involved in there is volunteerism. JustServe.org is a website that's locally sponsored. They said on their website they had over, so far as part of the America 250 celebration, over 470,000 hours of service. And on the main national website, there's 6.3 million hours of service that people have dedicated to each other just this year. These are meaningful contributions. At a time when a lot of families are struggling, having challenges, especially with economic challenges, I would like to continue to encourage us to be good neighbors, to be looking out for each other, and look for opportunities to serve. I had talked to our Karen on our staff, who's involved in our social media and newsletter, to see if there might be an opportunity for us to be officially recognized by the JustServe website. There are actually 3 different cities in our county that are recognized as JustServe cities. And I'd like to hope we can kind of look into something like that, and so we can kind of make sure that as a community, we value and recognize the importance of volunteerism and how we kind of work together. The third value I want to recognize is that of community involvement. All of you here today want to be involved in the community, want to know what's going on. They seek transparency, they seek accountability, and even there's concerns we have. I for one, I value your feedback, and I think as a mayor and council, I hope that I can say that we appreciate and value people being involved and giving us feedback and your responses.
David,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. This is report time, so I appreciate that report on the shakeout.
Okay.
That being one of your assigned things. Do you have a report on budget, which is your other one, or anything you want to say besides that? Maybe other items can be discussion for another part of the agenda.
I do have one more thing I want to mention. Well, related to the budget, I did meet with Darren, and Gary and I met on the budget, and we have reviewed a lot of that information. I know that Darren is going to be presenting more on that later. I did want to mention about the general plan, though. We do have a discussion coming up on May 12th.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, but that's another item. Is that part of your report for emergency preparedness or for the budget? Because this is just report time. So other discussion items, we need to go back to other discussion items on that.
Okay.
Maybe other past discussion items.
It's not a past discussion item. That's
Okay,
fine.
I'm just asking, are you reporting on, we're doing council reports? So I'm just-
I thought that this was a report for things that are coming up.
Yeah, I'm just, related to your assignments as a council. This is where we report on those assignments.
I would respectfully disagree, because as a council, we are meeting on May 12th. I wanted to just mention that briefly.
We are, and that's on our calendar items.
Okay.
So that will be mentioned.
Okay, we can discuss that later. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, that will be mentioned. And it is being put out there at the site
Yeah.
for everyone. So I know that we're putting that out on social media and on our website. So it is being publicized to everyone.
Okay.
I don't know if there's something else you want to discuss about that, but that would be another.
We can talk about that later.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else to report from your assignments that you'd like to?
No.
So emergency and 47% on the shakeout.
That's all I have.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Gary?
I met with Darren, for the past 2 weeks and went over the budget. It was helpful, and, I recognize that, at times we disagree, but, we can work through those issues. It's nice to be able to sit down with him. But I would like to say that, for the general plan, I would like to discuss next meeting, have a discussion about it and vote on what our intentions are on it. And if right now is not the appropriate time to talk about that, I would like to understand where those appropriate times are so that I can just
I
comply.
appreciate that. So I don't, we're planning a work meeting on the 12th of May. That's already in place. We're planning a work meeting to get together with staff and planning commission. I don't see a need for a vote prior to that meeting. A work meeting is a discussion to talk about
I
the
accept
ideas,
that
about the options, about what they might be. So that, I don't see a need for a vote for that, but we're also still in reports.
okay,
So,
so I accept that we disagree. But where would be the appropriate time for me as a council member to bring an issue like this to the table?
past discussion items, I guess. But it's not on tonight's agenda.
Well,
Yes,
that's the
so-
problem, is I can't bring it up. I can't get it on the agenda unless I talk about it. So how do you suggest that I
So,
get it on the agenda?
well, you can call me and we can talk about it
Okay?
and have a discussion.
Okay.
I mean, we haven't done that first. So
Okay, but
let's,
there is, you know, if 3 council members want something on the agenda, then it needs to be put on the agenda.
okay, that's also a discussion for another time. So let's move on with reports and keep going. I mean, go ahead.
So, busy week. I also, and I know that the budget is not my direct responsibility, but it is the responsibility and the duty of every council member. And so with that in mind, I have dug quite deeply into the budget in the past couple of weeks as well. And so I am looking forward to a robust discussion of that this evening. Also, our cemetery committee met. Once again, we are trying to meet frequently and move forward. We welcome Betty Hubrick to join our committee, and we are subdividing into committees, trying to get a few more things lined up and different ideas, and feel like we're making some progress. My other responsibility is the pickleball courts, and Darren and I actually talked about that again today. We have had a few volunteers. We talked about him maybe putting out one more blast with an actual meeting time, and then just seeing who besides has already expressed interest might join us. So.
All right, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Blake?
Okay, so the Youth City Council is currently accepting online applications. If they do know of any youth in the city that are interested in serving on the Youth City Council, The application period will end on April 30th. Applicants looking to join need to be entering in the 9th to 11th grades before in this upcoming school year. So feel free to fill out. We've had about 7 applications so far. I'm hoping to see a few more come through. So if you know of any youth that are looking for opportunities to serve in their community, that's a good opportunity. On the Communities That Care Central 3 committee that I'm on, we have been going over our strategic planning for the year and finalized what our focus will be for the next couple of years. And that is going to be getting information out for the risks associated with teens using tobacco, and especially in e-cigarette forms. So I look forward to that. If anyone's been to Lagoon in the last year, there's a whole bunch of signs that are up there that was part of the Parents Empowered, and there's a interactive display that you can go through there that also gives that information pertaining to youth drinking and the risks associated with that. And finally, civics. Kaysville City is looking for volunteers. Anybody that would be interested in helping to stage the 4th of July parade floats and entries. If you're interested in helping out with that, please reach out to me directly, like Winslow, or feel free to go through Kaysville City on their webpage. They have a landing page just for the parade. So that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, now we have our mayor's report. My mayor's report tonight is to share information about the budget. That is one thing that, so I work closely with our city manager. We meet regularly, and for all of this year so far, talk about many things about the city, but of course in this season we talked a lot about the budget as it has been coming together. And I just want to help share with the public some basic information just so that everyone can understand where we're at with that process. The state has a timeline where city managers begin early in the year to assemble their budget numbers. That's a process. It takes time to put those things together. It's not until the first meeting in May that a tentative budget is required to be adopted by the council. So we're ahead of that tonight. That is 2 weeks from today, that would be the first meeting in May. So tonight we'll be having a budget discussion, and our budget we're looking at now is still a draft. When the budget is adopted, or the tentative budget is adopted in the first meeting in May, it becomes a public document officially at that point. But it's not final yet. So that is now open to public comment, to further deliberation by council, and a final budget is not adopted until at the latest, the 30th of June. And the new fiscal year starts July 1st. So we are a long ways from that point. We're in a very good place because we have lots of stuff put together. This will be the 5th public meeting in which we've discussed and looked at the budget in part or in whole. And for reference, that's probably more meetings than you might find in several cities. And we decided to go piece by piece. And so one fund at a time, Darren comes and presents, and we started in February to look through individual funds in the budget as a council, in the public eye. And everything that we look at here is in a meeting is online for you to look at in the meeting packet that you can open there. So it has been open, it's been public, it's been transparent. We have worked through this in several meetings. It's kind of being put together like blocks. If you ask for the whole budget in March, you're asking for something that doesn't yet exist. So it's coming together, it's in progress in real time. It's starting to take a good shape, and yet tonight, but tonight is a stage of looking at the whole thing and getting council's direction, because ultimately it's the council decides on the direction of the budget. And we'll vote on it in its final form eventually. So, I wanted to just, everything that we're working on until the next meeting is a draft and subject to constant change and things like that. And even the one we'll adopt in May is still subject to change until the end of June. So I just want everyone to have that timeline in mind. I feel like we're right where we need to be with that progress. And that we have conducted that business fully in the open and public meetings that we hold here. And all the materials have been available for everyone. And it is a priority to me personally. I find financial transparency a big priority to work on improvements there. I have long noted that most of our budgets posted that are now posted online are just a spreadsheet, just a budget, which is great if you know how to look at that and digest that. But most often in other cities, you will find when you open a budget document that you see a letter that's I guess I call it a budget letter, probably other terms for it. It's an explanatory letter, not too long, but goes over what funds you have, what they're for, where the funding for those funds comes from, each of them, and what projects and things might be coming up or expenses or whatever other things that would be relevant for that budget year. And I asked Darren if he would produce that, and he has. And it is also a draft and a work in progress, but I'm pleased to be able to offer that as a step toward a better budget document for our residents. That will include eventually, and be patient, because stepwise we'll add and be have a better and better document. You know, envision we have graphs, we have interpretive material, we have things that make it more easily digestible to those of us, myself included, who are not born CPAs. So I would like it to be a step or a goal, a transparency goal for us, and we are working toward that. And so the letter that you'll find this year is that first step, just so that you're aware of that. Other ways that it has been transparent, as I mentioned, Gary and David both meet weekly during this time of the year for the development with Darren and go through mission funds and different things, ask questions. And that's a whole refinement process for everyone involved, because questions are great for refining everyone's knowledge. And Gary has always said, come to the budget. So he's open to questions. Darren is open, his door is always open. There is nothing hidden or non-transparent, and no reason to be so. These things are always are continually put out in the public, and welcome to ask anything that you'd like to ask. It is a complicated thing. A city budget is not as simple as a family budget or a business budget. It's governed by different laws and different regulations, and literally you spend kind of years and you're still learning something new about the process. So please understand that that's the case, and it's good to ask things and realize at the same time that we are all on the same team. We're all working for the same goal of financial soundness and security, a beautiful and well-kept city, and a wise shepherding of our resources. So that is everyone's goal here. And oh, I missed something just for reference, because someone has brought up a question. Council members do have access to look at the checks, the check register, the things going out, and the credit card things, monthly financial statements. All of those are available for council members in Microsoft Teams that we use, and put there on a regular basis by our staff so they can be reviewed. And security processes are in place. 2 people have to sign for every check that's written, and so forth like that. Okay, so we are striving to be transparent, striving to increase transparency, and welcome any productive discussion about that, questions, and let's just all work together for that on the in a community way, okay? That is it for my report. Staff reports. Let's see. Okay, Lane.
Yeah, so, square footage for road patching, last meeting was approved for 2,500 square feet. After everything's cut, our total square footage is just under 2,700 square feet. So our total will be 16,800.
Okay, that's additional dollars. No, square feet. 16.
The total cost will be 16,800. Our
Okay,
total
gotcha.
square footage is approved for 2,500, give or take. After cut, our new square footage is 2,700 square feet, 2,700.
Very good. Thank you. That's the update from that appropriation we did.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, perfect. Anything else?
Nope, not for me.
Derek?
So I've continued to be working on the budget over the last couple of weeks, updating different things as we've got more information from different insurance, all those different things. I've met with pretty much all the council and residents of the city. I've met with a few of those to talk budget and go over how it's done and how it's prepared. Most of the council is a little bit more familiar with the budget process, so that's just answering questions, or I have questions, or they have questions, working together to get those parts done. I know there's been a question about the $12 million through Heights City. As people know, has no debt. We continue to run a very tight budget, and we save money in the different accounts to be able to pay for projects, to be able to pay for water line, road work, different things happening throughout the city. And that way we don't have to borrow money to do those projects. We save, usually after we've saved the money to that point. And I think that's a great benefit for our city that we do not have that. That's my report.
Thank you. Awesome. We will enter the public comment period. As we enter the public comment period, as we're probably all familiar, the public may address the city council regarding issues that are or not on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. State your name and address the residents for the record. And no action may be taken on items not specifically listed on the agenda. And as we go into public comment period, I would like to read a little chunk out of our city ordinances. This is city ordinance 2A. 2A is an ordinance that lays out what has been adopted in regards to city council and meetings and so forth.
We can't hear you.
Okay. See if I can move this. Okay. If that's closer, is that a little better? Okay.
No.
Not quite. Put your hands down. A little bit better?
Yeah.
Better now. I think I can hear that it's better. Okay, thank you. Reading a piece of our ordinance out of ordinance 2A, which is regarding our government and its meetings and function. This is from a section called Rules of Order and Procedure, things that apply to our public meetings. And there's a section called Civil Discourse. It says this: remarks and comments made in public meetings of the city council should be relevant to the matters before the city council. Speakers should speak in an audible and clear tone and refrain from attacking city council members or others or their motives. City council meetings should be conducted in a courteous manner to promote an atmosphere in which all points of view may be expressed and heard. Council members should not interrupt other members during discussion and debate. Remarks should be addressed through the mayor, who shall allow reasonable opportunity for all points of view to be expressed. I am doing my best to improve at chairing this meeting. I am not perfect at that. I'm the first to say that. And so I'm trying to get better, but I will do my best to uphold this ordinance in our meeting. And so if I feel that we're straying from what value this represents, I will say something, and we will try to maintain a courteous atmosphere and one of good faith and a civil discourse. Okay? Thank you, I appreciate that. Public comment is now open for anyone who would like to offer a comment.
Scott Leaser, I live at 1416 East Heights Way. I just want to thank the city council. Quite a few of you have spent hours with me on the phone. I just want to thank you for that. And then other meeting studies with what our findings have been when it comes to the general plan and other documents, budget related items in our city. I was actually on the phone with our state auditor, Tina Cannon, for an hour and 50 minutes about our findings last week. She is very concerned with what's been going on here. One of the things that worries me, city council members, have not seen bank statements. My background is banking, actual bank accounts. I'm not talking financial documents, I'm talking bank accounts, transaction history, where checks are going. We need transparency. I'm not saying anything is being done unlawful, but that is a huge concern and a huge red flag of mine, especially coming from my background. And I saw things in the banking industry that were wrong anyway. I want to now talk about moderate income housing. I have a strategy of 5 items that we can do as a city in order not to have the golf course on the general plan. All I did is I looked at the moderate income housing report in our state. I went through cities our size and looked at what they were doing. It took me almost 2 hours to come up with this. And then you wonder why we're upset. One of the items that we can do is end. It's called Workforce Housing Local for public employees. We can set up a fund for our employees, for teachers, and we can fund that. And we can help them with their mortgage for the first year. That's one of the items that we can do as a city. Next one is P, Rental Affordability Partnership. We can do a down payment or help with the payment of the Orchard Farms apartments that are on Main Street. Last one, we can do T, it's called the Senior and Disabled Housing. We could set up a over 55 community and develop that. My question is, why the golf course?
Thank you, Scott.
Hi, thank you all. My name is Elizabeth Nielsen. I live on 89 Texas Road, and thanks to all of you who've been willing to talk with us all the time. I just have noticed today and the last city council meeting that we had city council members that were trying to bring up the general plan, trying to propose it get on the agenda prior to the meeting on the 12th. And I guess I have the same question as Councilmember Anderson. We wanted to know where today that could be brought up and discussed, so that it could be done prior to the work meeting. There's information that would probably be really helpful to be able to share or have on hand as you go to the work meeting, you really couldn't get otherwise. So I'm asking, where could we do it? Could it go on past discussion items, or maybe could the discussion be on other items, and if it isn't appropriate to be on the agenda tonight, if it needs to be discussed outside of the meeting, then what I would ask is that we stay after and before coming off the stage. This can be discussed among you so that it can be addressed and not passed again to another city council meeting where at that time it would be too late for put it on the agenda prior to. Thank you.
Hello, Jared Hall, 1366 East Heights Way. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I want to focus on a few key points as we consider the future of Project Park, and of course, other open space in our community. First, transparency. Heard it emphasized as a priority several times tonight. I appreciate that. From the resident's perspective, there's a gap between that goal and what's currently accessible. Basic financial information, like clear information about what the city's money is, how it's being used, and what it is actually committed to, is not easy to find. The information is hard to access, and it becomes harder to understand how decisions are being made. That erodes trust. Transparency should be built into how the city operates. At some point, I think it would be helpful for the mayor and council to clearly share your perspectives and positions on the general plan and its key components. Transparency is a priority. That includes communicating how decisions are being evaluated and where you stand. That leads to the broader discussion around open space. For the argument, we should keep our options open for future development. The question I keep coming back to is simple. Will concrete financial need justify prioritizing future development options for preservation? We'll also be interested to know what site-specific analysis, financial, water, or otherwise was done before these properties were identified for potential redevelopment in the general plan. Based on what's publicly available, the city appears financially stable. There's been no clearly defined shortfall tied to these properties. What we are weighing is something permanent. These spaces are developed, the change to our community is irreversible. They are preserved, we're choosing to protect something that already benefits residents today. I also want to briefly address water. There seems to be an assumption that redevelopment will improve the water situation. That's not something that should be assumed, it should be analyzed. In fact, depending on how water is sourced and used, it's entirely possible, and in some cases highly likely, that replacing a golf course with residential or mixed-use development results in equal or even higher long-term water demand. That's why this needs to be evaluated with site-specific data-driven analysis. I also want to briefly mention the trail line that's shown in the general plan. Some of these proposed trails are onto private property, creating real uncertainty for homeowners about how to use their land. I understand these plans are conceptual, but even conceptual designations can have little impact. We're fortunate to live at the base of the mountains where trail access already exists. I love trails, probably more than most people. But expanding them shouldn't come in ways that impact neighbors' ability to use their own property. Connectivity should be planned as part of growth, not imposed later in ways that create conflicts with existing property rights. So this brings me to my final point. For decisions like these, permanent and affecting the entire community, I do not believe they should rest solely with the council. This is the right direction. It should be able to earn the support of the people of the district. Any proposal to convert part of open space to the public, and the public alone should decide to evaluate it. There is a clear need, please show it. Water is part of the justification, please analyze it. If this is the right decision, let the public decide. Once open space is gone, it's gone. We're going to make that kind of decision that should be made by the people who have it.
Thank you, James.
Mayor and council members, my name is David Adams. My wife Sharon and I moved into the community just a few years ago. And we have been blessed by it. And if you don't mind, I'd like to share an experience which took place when I said a few years ago, in 1952. Years ago, we moved into the community. When I was very young, in the 5th grade, back in the late 60s. Fortunately, Clearfield City found some reason that they could put in an Olympic swimming pool. I was blessed as parents would drive me from my home to there 2 or 3 times a week to learn how to swim. I then contracted rheumatic fever. I was placed on a bed for 9 months, unable to get out of it. Period. At the end of that 9 months, I was placed on 5 years probation, not allowed to do any exercises that would strain the heart. Baseball, softball, running, swimming, etc. 5 years I didn't. Even taught was asked to teach physiology, of all crazy things in high school, take a teacher's course. But in that, I had a few friends who invited me. Knew I couldn't play baseball or basketball because of that. I said, why don't we go over to Davis golf course that just opened last year or the year before? I was able to walk with them. Well, I did something very interesting happen to me. Then the front line is back. Hole 11, familiar with most of you, was hole 2. So I walked down there and chased a few balls, and friends were enjoying each other's company. And I looked up and I said, that would be such a wonderful place to raise a family. Fast forward 10 years after that or more, we were blessed to be able to come home. I have watched many videos of how people take the exercise for the course of money and funds and all kinds of different reasons to shut things down, from airports to golf courses to swimming pools and everything else. We watch how many people come to this golf course. Today, I have driven past 2. I would say on Flatland Lake. Davis Golf Course is a landmark. And it's renowned not only through Fluke Heights, but through Davis County, through the state of Utah, and well into the west. And many people come here from a long distance beyond just across the street. I was not aware, and I take the full blame for that. I had no idea that the general plan was to do what it said. I received a flyer on my board that said there were 1,000 homes proposed in the general plan. I am heartbroken to hear it. I wasn't told that one was being won. I was at a caucus election. I wasn't even mentioned. I didn't know. I did learn it when the flyer was placed on my board. And I am so grateful to this council to say that we need transparency. Therefore, I am asking and pleading with this council and the mayor, each of you, please, according to the word, we tell all things are subject to change. I beg of you, please, change. Eliminate that general plan, encourage the county, that someone had to approve it. I'm being told nobody's in favor of it. I'm sure many are. But I'm pleading with you, change it. I can't begin to imagine, I wouldn't be able, I can't because of my back. Well, I can't begin to imagine we would shut that golf course down so children in every elementary, high, junior high, and high school, and all of the friends and neighbors. If that's the chart, shouldn't we start closing golf courses and schools around the country? I beg for your courage to lead that charge and think of how you can support children of all ages, including myself being there. Please support and let us keep that golf course. Not for me, I could move. But please, for all those who can use it, won't you please eliminate that general plan and lead the charge with the county and if you need to with the state. Reach for the support of the community. I hope they're all in favor of getting rid of the general plan. Sorry to bother you. I thank each one of you because I deeply appreciate it. Thankful for your messages and I ask for your support.
Thank you, Dave.
My name is Clark Moss. I live at 1340 Spirit Community. I just wanted to say a couple things about the budget and the financials. It's got a lot of attention in the last couple of weeks. And it caused me to go back and review it and see where we were and go through it in detail. I guess it's because I'm a geek, but I've been finances all my life. And I made a couple observations I'd like to just share so everybody can hear. Last summer we had an issue in the county budget. That they wanted to put a 30% increase on our property tax. county portion. That was protested and then went down for about half of that. A couple of things about that. The county had overspent its funds and they didn't have anything, money that they had saved up for the projects that they had done. Here in True Heights, our situation is just the opposite. We have revenue over expenditures. We're not a deficit, we have a surplus every year. And we have a large sum of cash in the account. So as I spend a lot of time with these reports, I made some observations. One is, from my perspective, as I look at things, I don't really have this great suspicion that somebody's taking money or doing something nefarious with the money. It's not going anywhere. If they were taking it, we wouldn't have much more money. But the other thing I think all of us need to remember is True Heights has always run very efficiently and financially prudent, and that continues today. I'm not saying, Darren, we're a cheap seat. We run inexpensively. There's a difference. But going to those financials, they are complex because of the laws, the accounting laws that apply to us, and we have to have a lot of different funds. So this money is spread over a lot of funds. The laws limit what we can keep in the general fund, but they're not so limiting on the others. It's interesting, as I went through, the city changed the formatting on how they do the budget sometime in about 2019 or 2020. And after that, the amount in the funds just kind of continually increased quite significantly over the next few years. Looking at that, the city is always actually having excess. In business, we would call it profits. In a nonprofit, you call it excess revenues over expenditure. The city is always coming out ahead. They're coming out ahead. So as I look at all those funds, I would like the council to remember there are people in our city that don't want their savings account to be in the city's funds. They would rather manage their own money and the city only take the money that they have a real need for projects for, and not just some nebulous fund that the city might need at some point in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Clark. Okay. Looks like I don't see anyone else getting up. We will move on to presentations. Item 5.1, Farmington Fire Report. Welcome to our fire chief. Thank you for being here today.
Can we get that microphone turned up? It's not picking up the.
I don't think it's on.
There it is.
I think it doesn't. The light doesn't work anymore.
There we go. How about now? Good? Great. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. For those of you I haven't met before, my name is Shelby Willis. I've been the fire chief now with Farmington for 10 months, and it's been a phenomenal process for me. So those of you who are here at the end of year program that I did a couple of months ago, there's a few slides that are redundant, but they're important, or they're pertaining to tonight's information. So the first slide I wanted to talk about is just our organizational structure. But the important point to this slide is that we maintain 8 personnel on duty as a maximum and 7 as a minimum. And the reason this is important is because we can run 2 calls at the same time. And we'll talk about why this is important as we go forward with the presentation. Next.
Great. Resources. We have a tremendous amount of resources when it comes to fire apparatus. We have fire engines. We have a ladder truck that's it reaches 116 feet in the air. We have 2 brush trucks. We have a water tender. We have numerous medical vehicles, and we're able to run a tremendous amount of calls, which becomes very important as we head into a different season. We're into spring. We're going to see people doing some activities, and of course, we're heading into the wildland brush fire season. Next slide. So service delivery is also something that we focus heavily on. As we look at your community, 2.3 square miles doesn't sound like a huge, doesn't sound like a huge space, but you can see the tremendous different diversity that happens in your community. You have a major highway running through it with tremendous amount of people driving every day. That highway also has hazardous materials. So it's things that I think about. Daily travelers. We have Cherry Hill, which can have up to 2,500 or 3,000 people a day. We have recreation and residential communities. And then of course, you have the bench, the canyon. Go ahead. So during the first quarter, I'm now going to move into emergency calls for service. First quarter, you can move forward. Call breakdown, this is just interesting to me. Days of the week, the days of the week that are busiest for you all are, I believe, I can't see that far. I believe it's Thursday, Friday, and Sunday with the most calls. And then times a day, it's noon to 6 p.m. at night. So again, it's depending on who's in your community and the purpose of that community. It's going to be interesting to see, does that change over the second quarter? Go ahead. Medical calls for service, 20 so far in this first quarter, with predominantly we have cardiac issues, and it could be just generic cardiac issues, sick people, seizure, and then allergic reactions. Go ahead. And then fire calls, interestingly enough, I don't think you'll be surprised that this traffic accidents are the major call for service at this point. We had actually quite a few canceled calls. Fire alarms, we've had 1 brush fire so far, not happy about that. And we've had 1 vehicle fire. Go ahead. So this is the important part that I really wanted to focus on. We focus heavily on community risk and community risk reduction. What are we looking for each quarter and what changes? So some of the things that we focus on is just doing plan reviews as we have new businesses or new different facilities in your community. We do annual inspections, whether they're government facilities, daycares. One of the things we also look at is Cherry Hill. And then we look at anything that has we do fire alarm testing, fire hydrant testing, etc. Go ahead. So this was something that we're just doing as we speak right now, doing walkthroughs with Cherry Hill. We've set up sessions with Cherry Hill. It started yesterday and it's going to go through, I believe it's tomorrow and then later on next week, where all of our crews get to do a walkthrough and they get to see where's ingress, where is egress, what are the hazards. If we have a fire, what is the best approach? If there's an issue with the campgrounds, what is the best approach in that area? And Cherry Hill has been amazing to provide us with this opportunity. It allows all of the new people that are in our facility or in our agency to be able to have access to this facility, because it's going to change when it opens. And again, if there's 3,000 people on site, it changes the way we mitigate emergencies. Go ahead. My other bane of my existence, the wildland potential, wildland urban interface potential. We're about to start wildland season. We had a meeting with Forestry, Fire, and State Lands a couple of weeks ago, and they expect that our brush fire season is going to start over a month early. And again, Farmington has had a brush fire already, and so have you all. So it's things we're paying tremendous amount of attention to. We've checked out our brush trucks. We've made sure that we have all of our packs. If we're going up into the canyon, that firefighting is a bit different than what we would do for a structure. So we're working through that, making sure that we have all the necessary equipment and we're trained appropriately. Go ahead. So with regard to wildland resources, we have a tender that carries 1,500 gallons per water. So if we get up in the canyon, we don't want to keep shuttling water back and forth, and the fire truck has typically 500 to 750 gallons. So we can double that just with the water tender. We have 2 brush trucks. We have a rover. The rover has the ability to transport a patient or an injured person, as well as has a small 200-gallon tank on it. So if we have a small brush fire, the rover can get in places that obviously a vehicle cannot. We're working with forestry, fire, and state lands. One of the interesting things is Farmington Fire, most firefighters that have a wildland urban interface area are trained in wildland firefighting. I'll talk about that in a second. But the important part is we're going to do the urban interface fires. And at the point that we run out of structures and that becomes just forestry land, forestry takes over. That's a contractual agreement. We have to be properly trained. We have to have the correct amount of resources. We have to do an annual mitigation strategy to get this agreement with them. But the best part of this agreement is at the point that we delegate these fires to them, they take over the mitigation and the cost. So the cities don't absorb the cost, which is phenomenal. Next slide. So this is something we have to do on an annual basis. Initially, if you're becoming a wildland certified firefighter, you have to do a 40-hour class. We've all done so. Once a year, we do an annual refresher where it's a 2 to 3 hour classroom training or skills-based training. And then we have to do a red card pack test. Every year, every firefighter, including myself, we don a 45-pound pack. We walk briskly, slightly jog 3 miles, and we have to do it in 45 minutes and 30 seconds. We have to turn that information into the fire warden, and then he turns that into the state, and that's part of this contractual agreement. Farmington has already completed that, and every person in our department was able to successfully pass this. So it's pretty impressive. So I want to talk a little bit about, as we're leaving the first quarter, we're going into the second quarter. One of the things I like to focus on is efficiencies and effectiveness. And I think it's something that as a city agency, as a fire department, we should look at continually. What services do we provide? How can we make sure that we're effective? And what do we need to do to change to make sure that we're continuing to be efficient? Go ahead. So one of the things we had to do is we had to renew our EMS transfer license and our EMS medical license with the state. This is a 4-year state license. We had to go out for RFP. We allowed any other agency that provides medical services in the state of Utah to apply. We had to apply to our own RFP. I had to do an entire data analysis, turn it into the state, and the state had to agree that we can provide services financially, effectively, and operationally. And we were able to do that. So that's already been taken care of. That won't have to be done again for another 4 years. The next thing we have to do every June is inventory all of our medical equipment and our medical vehicles and ensure that we're carrying what the state requires in quantity and type. That's due in June, so that's something we're working on currently. One of the other things we focus on heavily, and I've talked about this in the past, is training and development. And part of it is to ensure that we can renew our medical licenses. We have to do 50 to 60 hours every 2 years of medical training. It goes into the state, and it also goes to the national registry. And it's an actual certification. You cannot work in the state of Utah without these 2 certifications. Along that, we have to do fire certifications. That also gets turned in, and I'm going to explain that in a second. Go ahead. With regard to efficiencies, one of the things we recognized is as Bountiful dispatches us to certain calls, they have nature codes or call types. So if the call is not an emergency, for example, somebody has a sprained ankle, they're on a basketball court, they just want to be evaluated. That's a BLS non-emergency call. Takes 1 unit. If it's an ALS call, somebody is having a cardiac issue, they're having a stroke, etc., that takes more than 1 unit. So we're currently working with dispatch to go over every single type of call that they can dispatch us to and decide, do we need 1, 2, or 3 units? And then with regard to a structure fire, we need 17 firefighters on the scene of a fire in 8 minutes and 30 seconds. We have to do that through automatic aid. But how do we effectively do that? So that's something we're currently working on through dispatch. And the purpose of this is to make sure that we're not sending 3 units to every call, so we can handle 2 calls, 3 calls at the same time. Go ahead. So one of the other inspections and assessments that we get is through ISO, so Insurance Services Office. This is done throughout the United States and Canada, and it's done by an agency that represents the fire service, but they're independently accredited, they're independently licensed. So they get to come in and assess the effectiveness of the fire department, typically every 7 to 10 years. It's been since 2018 since Farmington has had this assessment, so we're up for this again. They're coming in June. So over the next 5 weeks, we have to provide data on fire protection. What services do we provide? What are our resources? How many resources do we have? Water distribution, how many hydrants do we have? What are the flow capabilities? Dispatch, how does dispatch, how quickly can dispatch give us information on call? Our training hours, so I spent a little bit of time talking about that. Are we meeting the training hours that the National Fire Protection Agency said we should? And for example, each firefighter at a minimum is supposed to have 192 hours of fire training. Then there's vehicle training, officer training, hazardous material training. That equates to 2 hours a day, every day, for 300, for the shift that they're working. That's 280 hours of work time a firefighter is scheduled to work. It's 2 hours every one of those shifts. It's tremendous. They don't care about medical services. They care about fire suppression. They care about fire operations. And then, of course, community risk reduction. What do we do to make sure that we're preventing risk, and how are we assessing risk? Scores are 1 through 10. 1 is the best, 10 is the worst, and today Farmington is the 3. So of course, we hope to at least maintain that, if not improve that. And we'll have that score sometime in, I would say, August. The inspection is again in June. Go ahead. So the last 2 things that I want to talk about is another priority for us is budget. Just like you all, we're midway through our budget process. Farmington Fire is not asking for additional people. And what we've done is looked at all of our programs, whether it's equipment, it's uniforms. We've developed a 5-year replacement plan for both the medical side and the fire side with regard to equipment. And we've done the same with vehicles. What is our 5 to 10-year plan for replacing a fire truck? I can't just go out and do that tomorrow. So that plan is put in place. It's going through the approval processes similar to what you all are doing. And we should know in June if those budgets have been approved. And then the last item is the fire station update. They've broken ground. I'm told that this week they've laid all the pipes, and now hoping that they're pouring foundation. So as soon as we start to actually see structure, it gets really exciting. So that's the end of the presentation. I can answer any questions you may have. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. We had a question about the wildfire hazard, how that's determined. How is this like low risk and the background is higher?
Sure, that's a great.
And our insurance.
Yes, I can give you.
Do you mind if I restate the?
Or she can. Just restate the question into the microphone.
Sure. The question was first, how is the wildland risk assessed? How is that created? And then how does that affect insurance? So forestry, fire, and state lands were told by the state legislature, they passed a bill that said forestry, fire, and state lands had to map the entire wildland urban interface area for the entire state. And they created the risk assessment. Cities, municipalities have the ability to challenge that, but they have to challenge that formally. And if they do so, that challenge has to be done in writing through a process, and it can't be done until January of 2027. So the maps that were developed and published, we all live with currently. The great part of Davis County is we don't have areas that are considered very high risk, so nobody's getting assessed a fee, which is fantastic. Now, what the insurance companies choose to do with that is up to them. Here's what we do know. Insurance companies can't come in and say, I'm going to insure Farmington residents, but I'm not going to insure Fruit Heights residents. They can't do that. What they can do is say, I'm not going to insure anybody in the state of Utah. So a year ago, I live in South Ogden. My home backs to a school, and the other side of my neighborhood is a nursing facility. It's all concrete. My homeowner's insurance dropped me. So I had a month to get new homeowner's insurance. Insurance companies have the ability to change your rate. They can do that, but they can't decide we're going to select who they insure. So unfortunately, if your insurance rates are going up, your option is to look for another company.
How do they determine like box to box, where it's like 10 feet from our house?
So that's not what your map looks like, but that's, the insurance companies have the ability to do that. And one of the things they'll look at is what's the environment surrounding you. You could spend $20,000 mitigating your property, but if your neighbor doesn't, the risk is still the same. Yep. So you can actually ask for an assessment of your property to change your risk, and then you could provide that information to your insurance company, but a resident can't do that until 2028. So you have to live with that assessment for another year and a half. Anything else?
Council, any questions?
I do have one question. Haley, would you mind scrolling about halfway up? It's the map. Can everyone hear me okay? The map that shows the city, that one right there. I couldn't read what that legend is. Can you give me a sense? Is the dark green, is that the highest risk area?
I want to make sure.
White is the very high.
White is the, well, everything around our
White
city
is
is
the
high.
worst.
Green is high, yellowish green is moderate, yellow is low, orange is very low, and red is, I can't read it, but basically it's very, very low.
Okay, so I'll just invert it in my mind. So red is the high risk, and then
No, red is the low risk.
red is the low risk, sorry. Red is the low risk.
Our GIS gentleman thought that was fun. So it scares everyone.
It does.
White is the worst.
So if white is the high risk, then literally everything outside of our city is really high risk. So you live in there. I'm joking. Thank you. No, that was the only question. Because I was looking at it, I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
We're in
no,
trouble.
we're good.
It's backwards.
Actually good.
Perfect.
I actually had one question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that Farmington is starting a new station. I believe you said it was on the west side.
Mhm.
How does that anticipated impact your resources? You said you wouldn't need to get additional resources.
No, the great part is we have enough apparatus to be able to split them. The previous fire chiefs, what do I say, they like to buy apparatus. My goal would be to put a truck, the aerial, 116-foot aerial in one station, an engine in another, and we still have 2 reserve units. Put a brush truck at each station. We have an ambulance at each station. Today, we have all of those vehicles and we're maintaining them. So we don't have to buy a resource, but we do have to hire 15 people. So at the point that we're ready to staff both stations, I've already done a prospective budget of what it takes to increase staffing by 15, and it's close to $2 million ongoing. So it's extensive.
And what is the anticipated response time? Because you have 2 stations now instead of just 1?
Yeah, so depending on where the call is located and how quickly someone can get on like 15 or 89, it's going to change dramatically. It's instead of it, for example, the second station that's going to be on the west side, they can easily get on 15 or on 89 and go north or south. It will change response time significantly. Where, for example, if we're coming here, we're going to have to get through to a major roadway to do that, or go Main Street, which is now under construction. So it changes a lot. And then it provides a tremendous service to the west side. You bet.
When do you anticipate that the new station will be online?
They say 13 months, so a year from now, that station will be online, and then the goal is to renovate the current station. So we won't have 2 stations for probably 2.5 years. Okay. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Okay, moving on to number 6, our agenda discussion items. 6.1, discussion about awarding a bid for 2026 street maintenance.
So, can you hear me? You hear me?
Okay. We can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, so this project is for mill and overlaying Charlotte and Daniel. It'll consist of a 2-inch overlay and then a 2-inch paint back on both these streets. The bid price was $95,809.01. We opened 9 bids. The lowest price was Asphalt Construction and Excavation. My recommendation is to award that bid to Ace Asphalt Construction and Excavation and get these roads completed.
How soon would they start?
We'll start probably, probably mid-May. In May. Completion is June 26th.
That'd be great. Before the end of the budget year, we can get them paid.
Yep. So, any questions?
We worked with that company before.
I haven't, Jones and Associates has a lot. So, and they do good work. So I've heard. So,
They are a little bit.
they were the low bid,
So
yes.
what's your recommendation?
Can you not hear? I don't know. Can you hear, Win?
I don't know. I live on Daniel.
Okay.
And I was here to give the whole council an earful, including the city manager. Thank you for keeping your word on upgrading the water connections. But I just didn't hear you say street maintenance for that little portion of Daniel Drive. Is that included in this bid or is that a different bid?
Yes, yes. So it's Daniel Drive and Charlotte Drive. So, yep.
Well, my earful then is thank you for all. Thank you. Thanks for your service and thanks for all you do. And thanks for keeping your word because you promised us last year you would do it this year.
Yep.
We're getting it in before the end of the year. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion on that?
Do you want to take a question?
I know, is there another question?
Yes, during the long and never-ending process of finishing Highway 89, the state used extensively Charlotte. Parked equipment there. Occasionally they drove their equipment along there. So part of the tear up on Charlotte, I believe, is due to the state. Has there been any attempt to try to go to the state to pay a portion of the cost of relaying Charlotte?
I have not, no.
Would you mind restating some of that, just so that we have it on the record?
Yeah, so when the state came through with 89, they drove equipment and tore up Charlotte. And the question was, has Through Heights City reached out to the state to try and acquire some funds to help pay for the mill and overlay on the street, right?
Yeah, that's the question. Thank you for restating it.
And no, we have not. Have not reached out to the state.
Good thought. Good thought.
Will you?
I don't know what
Should.
process it would be for that, but we can look into it.
Yeah, we'll look into it, but I don't know if it would get anywhere
I'm not sure if that would
since
get anywhere.
89's been
We can
completed.
always ask.
So,
Right.
yep.
Thank you, Wayne.
Yep.
Okay. Item 6.2. Resolution 2026-05 to adopt a social media policy.
Do we want to discuss the social media policy before we get into the resolution?
No, we didn't
We're
say
under
approved, did we?
discussion items.
Right.
Did I say the wrong?
But it says resolution, so I think the resolution doesn't include the discussion items quite the same. The resolution just adopts it. The social media policy is the document.
We're just, yeah, I'm sorry.
So the document is called
discussing
social media
this is the
policy.
discussion item, section of the agenda, and we're discussing the social media policy.
So it should say discussion on the social media policy, but, okay.
But it is, nevertheless, that is the topic of discussion. So
Can you speak up again?
we will open the discussion for the social media policy that has been here. So we've had a previous discussion and asked Darren to go and draw something up, which he did, and it was opened up to all council members to send in any other additions or edits, which was done. And so what's here before us is the result of that.
So one of the things that I continue to disagree with is having our city post on other community sites. I think we need one source of truth, and that is the city. When something is posted on another site, alterations may be made and or suspected of being made, be that true or not. And then, there is no control. I feel like there can be some very unfair advantage given, particularly in election times, for the city sharing on social media posts. And I really hope we do not put that in there, because I feel like, for instance, and I know we have talked about this before, but during the elections cycle, your website that you owned at the start of the election cycle, as named a Finer Fruit Heights, you chose to post on that at the same time as our city was posting about Founder's Day. And so there were people in the community that would get a post that says, Fruit Heights City has posted on a Finer Fruit Heights. And when they clicked on that link, they would not see Fruit Heights City post, but they would see your post. And I feel like it was quite wrong. And so I think the way to handle that is to just say the source of truth for our city is the Fruit Heights sites, webpage, Fruit Heights, Facebook. And if the administrators from the other site want to pass this post along, they can. And if they don't, they won't. And that's the way it is. So I would hope that we take out number 2, where it says post may be shared with other community sites to help get the city's message to more individuals.
So the argument on the other side of that is to use what channels there already exist in an effort to get messages out to more people, because a lot of people belong to those sites and may or may not follow the city sites and receive that in their feed. So I have advocated for that in the interest of greater levels of communication. You did mention something where you said something about posts being changed. I'm not sure what you mean about that. The process of someone sharing can I finish, please?
Sure, I'm sorry.
The process of sharing a post is that you share it to that site, but the admin of that site controls whether it gets posted or not. They don't have control to change your post.
Okay.
They can post it or not, or decline to post it, but they cannot change your post. Just to be clear. So I'm not sure what you mean by it being changed. That's not a thing.
That's not a thing. I don't own a Facebook page that is a social kind of thing like that, so I don't really understand how the admin of that works. I do know what happened during the election cycle. There was no discussion between anyone that was running as to who may or may not post where. And other than we were given the opportunity to each have a bio page on the city site. And
first, I mentioned before, I did invite all of the candidates to post on that page.
24 hours after you did.
Pardon, can we stick to the process? Do you mind if I ask one real quick question, Darren? What is the process right now? So it says posts may be shared. Can you walk me through that process? Are we actually sending an email out or?
No, so with the other Finer Fruit Heights and those, we can share to say share to post that we have on our website.
Does that automatically upload it?
And then they can take that if they would like and post it to theirs, or they can say, no, we don't want to. But it's just saying, here's something on our Facebook page. If you share that, and that's about it.
So just so I'm clear, the process is we can solicit, or we can send a post to a privately owned Facebook page, and then their admins say yes or no before it's posted for the public.
Or they can follow the Fruit Heights page and then choose whether or not to share it, which is actually when I went to training at the state, that was the method that they would recommend, so that the city does not look like they are the ones posting on the site. And so they can actually take from a site. So if they are following the Fruit Heights Facebook page, then they can choose to click the share button and share it to their page, rather than the city being in charge of sharing it to a page.
So, to be clear, if someone has seen
No,
if the or the admin of that page, for instance, had shared the thing that you mentioned, ad about Founders Day, and someone clicked that, it would take them to that page, do the same thing.
No, it's not quite the same thing. Because if I'm following Fruit Heights City, or I'm following anyway, it's not the same.
If that comes up in your feed, just because you're following that page.
But it wouldn't say Fruit Heights shared it. It says the admin shared it.
Yeah,
There's a
but
difference.
I'm saying the results would be the same, that's all. So obviously I don't get to vote on this, but I'm just saying the two sides of it are wanting to disseminate information through existing community channels in an effort to get it in front of more people, is the desire on the one side. And, Eileen has made arguments on the other side.
But, pardon me, I beg your pardon. But just to be clear, we do not post it automatically on other pages. They have to.
We used to.
We used to, but they have to, their admin have to come in and say, yes, we'll post it. No, we won't.
Now
That's the process.
Well, actually.
Do we need to add that language in or?
No, it's their choice.
So, in the past, Fruit Heights City could say to the Finer Fruit Heights website, it's a Facebook page. Here is this post, and they could elect to choose it. But during the election, that got shut down. And so the
Posting automatically.
to Finer Fruit Heights.
That's true.
And so right now, currently, the city does not post and have it go to the Finer Fruit Heights, because the Finer Fruit Heights is not an official city webpage. And this ordinance is clarifying what we as a council want to see the future of those, like, do we allow that or do we not allow that? And specifically, line item 2 addresses that very issue. All the other line items are have other little bit different issues and stuff like that, but specifically line item 2 addresses not only the Finer Fruit Heights, but any other web page that
Community.
that isn't controlled by the city specifically.
I have a question about item 3, if we're through with number 2.
About what?
Item 3.
Item 3.
The first sentence says, elected officials may not direct staff to create or remove posts for political purposes. I believe that we already have an existing policy that elected officials don't direct staff on anything. We can't go and say, I want to have the road in front of my house paved ahead of some other road. I can't do special requests. Instead, we have to go through the mayor or through the resident manager. So I don't know that this is necessary. Elected officials can't direct staff to create any posts. The political purposes, I think, is not necessary. I think if
We have talked about that principle before. I'm trying to think of where it is enumerated as far as in a ordinance or resolution.
I'm sorry, so proposed change would be, it could just be the elected officials may not direct staff pursuant, and then
if we
add
have
that
something
code, add that
specific,
ordinance number in there.
like the Great Shakeout or the Youth Council, we go through our city manager to get those posts created. I think that's what the policy should be. Then that addresses the concern about political
bias.
So are you proposing to just strike the last part of the sentence?
Yeah.
But not the first part? So just the for political purposes, just leave it at domestic. Okay. Okay, I see what you mean there.
I mean, Darren, as a city manager, are you okay with us going to you if we want to have an announcement or post or something like that?
Yeah,
That's, yeah.
Okay.
so could you tell us how you want 3?
So I think he's proposing to strike just the 3 words for political purposes on the end of that first sentence.
So that becomes everything, not just political things.
Are we okay with something like that?
We will make that, I think we can make that. Do we make that amendment now, or do we do it when we get to the action item?
We can,
Can we
I mean,
amend
we're
that?
still in discussion, so we can play with this, how we want to play with it right now.
Well, I would,
And then, refine it further when we get to the action. item.
so do you want
So,
action, I mean, so we'll just make any corrections during the action period?
What is that process? I mean, can you speak to that process, Eileen? In the past, what have we done during discussion? Have we edited documents actively during discussion? Aaron?
yeah.
Well, I think you can edit or do those things during the discussion.
Okay.
And then if we do go to a vote to approve, now that those have been changed or however they wanted to be worded, that's what is approved on that aspect. And if we don't want to approve it tonight and we want more discussion time, then we need to move that direction too.
Hey, are you able to get in there and do a strike through on those?
We're just highlighting yellow right on this page right here.
So as we're talking, just so you know, I can see what they're doing.
Yeah,
They're just highlighting it in yellow as we're discussing.
Can I make a suggestion?
Looks
There it is,
like-
okay, I see it. Thank you.
Do you want to take public comment or not?
Suggestion, just because I have to go, but can we get an Instagram page? Because we have a lot of younger community here that's growing in Fruit Heights. And, you know, if you're under 55, we don't have Facebook. We don't go to websites, you know, so like, and it's easy to automatically paste your Facebook to automatically post over to Instagram. And I think you'll get a lot more communication out to a lot more community.
So you're suggesting, I believe, that we, in addition to, we say official our official website, our Facebook page, our Twitter, our X, and YouTube, you're suggesting that we add another one that's Instagram.
Absolutely, get rid of X. That's what you Facebook's not a thing anymore.
So this policy.
It's an auto.
Thank you.
Auto.
Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, you can do that between Facebook and Instagram. Thank you for that suggestion. Probably a lot of people in certain demographics would agree with you. And that's great. So we can pass that suggestion along. This policy addresses social media as a whole. So it would address any social media account that we have. So we could easily, you know, this is not a Facebook policy per se, this is a social media policy, so we can incorporate that as desired. We don't need to put it in policy. Can I continue on? So we're at number 4. We're going to discuss.
Are we going for each one, or are we just?
Well, I mean, as staff, I mean, as the council has questions or items that you want to discuss, let's hit those. If you don't have any other items on the whole.
I would move that we, well, I would suggest that we move on. We've got to get to our votes before it's too late.
So we will have other
Just-
opportunities
we're gonna add
to discuss it
Instagram.
when we have the.
Okay.
We're gonna, number 5. We're gonna put Instagram there too, so that.
Do we have a
Because we do have
page?
an Instagram.
Oh, we do have a page. We just haven't been added to the list. Okay.
Okay, great. we will, I mean, when we take a vote and have a motion on the table, if we do so, then we will have further discussion time at that time as well. Are there other edits that anyone can see tonight to propose right now in this discussion period?
I do have one. On number 12, it says protection clause, and then it says in this section, and it sounds like it's referring to that section itself. I would prefer that be changed from section to policy, as it doesn't follow, it's not,
Right, I see what you're saying.
it
Like
speaks
legal
to that
regulation.
section, that seems to be speaking to that subsection and not to the entire policy.
So, Haley, do you see where he's mentioning?
She's working on
word
it.
change?
She's doing it right now.
She's on it.
So, I think that's a good language change there. It's more clear.
Okay, well, she can work on that while we move on.
Okay. Anyone else have one that they're just about to say? Let's look at, move on to. Okay, 6.3, budget discussion and direction. Any direction from council?
How do you want to handle this? Do you want Darren to present? Do you want us to just?
Yeah, Darren will come up, I think. So we have before us, grab mine. In the packet was a latest version. It's not now the latest version because it was 5 or 6 days ago. And even now there's new numbers, but mostly correct version, or mostly current version, I should say, of the draft budget that we're working from. So in this, the difference with this one and from before is that we now have, fiscal year 25 actuals included.
Yes.
That's the first column.
Haley, would you mind zooming in a little?
Estimates,
I'm so sorry.
7 and through February.
Thank you.
Yeah, through February actually. Where we're at for the year over there.
So Mayor and Council, as you remember in the last council meeting, I was asked to try to get the actuals from the 2025 budget. I went through that process. I put the actuals amounts of revenue and expenses through this tentative budget portion. I also went through and added our actuals for where we are currently in our budget as of the end of February. We're in the process of going through March and all that right now to bring that to a closer. And then also along with that, it does kind of give us an estimate of where we'll be if trends continue the way they are till the end of the budget year in June. I guess right now I'm open up to the council. I do, after meeting with council members and meeting with Gary and David this week, I am looking for direction on which way the council wants to go. I'm personally going to recommend that we do not do a truth in taxation this year, that we have a little extra money in the general fund that will be rolled over, that we can continue to use for this next year to cover the cost. I did go through and I was able to reduce that about 160,000 down to about 125,000 by making a couple changes in different areas. And I think that's something that this year but that's my recommendation, but I still need the council's direction on which way they want to go for those kind of things. So, and that has to do with the general fund.
Can you provide that statement that we went from 160 to 120?
About 126 to 28,000.
And that's what we'll be short.
That's where we are. We'll be short. We can roll that over into some different. We had some increases in interest revenue this year, more than we budgeted for. We also had a couple of increases in some building permits, and sales tax did not increase very much this year. It is right on course to be right where about $1,125,000 where my estimate is for that coming in. And just looking at the past couple of years, that's probably going to be right there. So,
So if you're looking to start the discussion a little bit, I would agree with what you've said. I would not propose a truth in taxation. As you and I discussed, I would like you to still go through the fund balance numbers in this spreadsheet. And I know that we talked about them being in the auditor's report, and that was very helpful. Thank you. But I would also like them here as well. So if we can continue to do that, that would be nice. But that's just maybe to get the ball rolling.
Can you speak up?
Yeah, but I'm done talking, so. If you want me to repeat, I can repeat. Would you like me to repeat? Okay, I'm sorry, I have a nasty habit of talking low. My recommendation is that we do not go through with a truth in taxation this year. I also would like to have, there's some fund balances at the bottom of this worksheet. We talked about some of the numbers didn't look right. Darren was going to look at them and update them. We also talked about, he showed me in the auditor's report where the fund balances were. I was previously unaware of that. And that was very, very helpful. And so I appreciate that. And ultimately, that was just really kind of all rolling on the discussion. Did I loud enough? Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Mayor, are we to where we can talk, may I speak to the budget? Also working with Darren, we're talking about this $12 million that we have in the bank. And of that $12 million that we have in the bank, just slightly more than 6 million of it has come in the last 6 years. So overall, about $1 million over and above what we have been budgeting for is now in our fund balance. The thing that doesn't cover is that we have set aside almost $1.5 million in our water enterprise fund. That water enterprise fund is for water projects. We had a water study by Zions Bank, and we've told them what our situation is, and they have come through and said, this is what you should be charging for water. This is what you need in your accounts. Am I correct there, Darren? So that is about $1.5 million of the fund balance of that 12 million-ish. The other thing that has come up is that we have something called a transportation utility fund. That utility fund is the $7.50 you see on your utility bill every single month. For some reason, prior to Darren, from 2020 to basically 2024, we did not spend that money on our roads. And it was kind of out there. And Darren basically for this budget year said, hey, wait a minute, this is money we should be spending on roads. That particular fund is now up to almost $1 million. And so we are going to be spending a little bit more on roads. Not all of that money on roads, because we want to have a emergency fund. Remember, we don't do debt. And so if we have some disaster, we need to have some money to do some repairs. Yeah, we're knocking on wood, right? But you will see more money coming out of that transportation utility fund and being used for roads in this next budget year. So that is some of that additional money as well. One of the things the council obviously that leaves other monies. We're still talking about perhaps $4 million that we have now that we did not have in 2020. And so, because we've been collecting that much every year. And so some of those, again, are for projects. Some of those we have been looking at for some time at doing some parks projects. And so we are saving a little bit of money for parks. Darren has given me a list of our roads projects that we are hoping to do. But at the same time, I think it would be one of the things that the council needs to pay attention to every year is how much more money do we want to keep saving, or do we feel like our funds have enough of a cushion that we can stop adding so aggressively to them. And so by not raising our rates, even though our expenses are going up, that is going to decrease the amount that we are putting in our funds.
Yes.
All of that is a fair statement, correct? And so, and there are several funds that are just pass-through funds, and we've talked about those, like our sewer fund, we just collect and then ship off. But Darren, our city does have some sewer expense, and so he's saving a little bit in there for potential, again, emergencies. So the thing is the council needs to make specific decisions on these funds as to how much we're going to keep saving ahead, or if we feel like the cushion is plenty, or if we feel like we need to spend it down. So we have those choices to make. So just because we adopt a tentative budget in 2 weeks does not mean that we are at the end of our decision-making process, because part of our decision-making process will continue to be how much we really get into these funds. And so right now, if we say we're not doing a truth in taxation hearing, that means we're not going to be raising taxes. Darren has talked about why he feels like our property tax fund income revenue that we got will probably decrease a small amount. I'm sorry, what?
Why is that property tax going to decrease?
Oh, not for each individual, but our amount that we get as a city. And the reason he stated that it would decrease is because when we had like Rockloft Ridge come into the city, they actually have to back pay the taxes for 5 years on the properties that they sell. They may or may not have back paid it on all of them right now. I have no idea. But when they sell a property, they basically have to go in and say, this property is valued as a residential lot instead of greenbelt or agricultural. And so if they paid back some of that in 2024 and 2025, then that would be why the city's revenue for property taxes would slightly decrease. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are looking at a small decrease also in potential property taxes.
Well, I think the revenue of the property tax, so when you do a truth in taxation, there's two things to look at. The state requires a percentage, and they also want you to do it in an amount. Through Heights City on our last truth in taxation, we did both. We picked an amount. We needed this much money to be coming in from property taxes to cover the expenses we had, fire, all those different things. That amount of money stays really, really close to the same. The amount doesn't change. What happens over the next couple of years, either the percentage or the rate that the county charges or the state decreases or increases to receive that same amount of money. So you stay really close to that $1,400,000 of income or revenue in that. Now, there's two things that happen. Individuals have the opportunity to go down and have their property tax reduced. If they meet the stuff, financial, all those different things, they can have their property tax reduced. If that's reduced, for example, this year, it was reduced. Individuals went down and talked to the county, and it was about $31,000 less in property tax that the city received because those individuals went and did that.
Those would be low income people or potentially some military disabled.
So you have less there, but then there's people that didn't pay taxes the year before or 2 years before, and then they paid their taxes. So then you get money back for delinquent taxes from years past. So the amount really does stay really close to that 1,400,000. I can't guess where that'll be by
the county gives that rate.
Kind of comes back and does all that, but we'll still try to collect that 1,400,000. We may get a little bit more delinquent taxes, back taxes. Those kind of things may come in, so we could get more. But then it really does offset, and it stays really within pretty close to that price until there is a truth in taxation when the city comes in and changes the rate.
And again, I think as the city council, we have a huge responsibility to know every year what is going to be in the fund balances as best we can. And at some point, we do our projects that, the council was elected to do. And if we are charging too much money, then we need to adjust that. But for right now, we certainly do not need to adjust it up, in my opinion.
When I was first running for council, I spoke with Eileen Moss, and she told me that if I didn't want to be on council, that I should talk about bonding. So the only bond I will talk about in this city is James Bond. So we do a good job of saving up for our projects, not borrowing to do that. So our balances look high, but that is good hygiene as a community. We are lucky in that we are one of the few cities in the state of Utah that does not regularly bond. And it's because of good financial sense. Our community is savvy in this issue, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Gee, that must mean that all the past mayors and all of the great council people really did a great job for us.
Especially Betty.
Can I ask a question that's burning based on the comment you just made? So my understanding is in the general fund reserves, the state requires like a 25, now moved to 35% of your revenue.
Maximum.
Yeah.
35.
We don't have to have that.
Ours is actually, from what I understand, sitting at about 70%. So can you explain that delta to me?
That's a good question for Darren.
So
And why it's over?
it's actually not in the general fund, and that law addresses only the general fund.
Could you double check that number for me? Because that's not what I'm seeing.
Okay, but the one fund that Darren and I talked about today that I felt like was overfunded significantly is it's called our vehicle fund.
I think that's separate from what I'm looking at.
Okay.
The general, just double check those numbers.
Darren,
Yeah, so as we'll get closer to the end of the budget, you'll see that number decrease. We haven't paid a lot of bills yet that come out of the general fund. I mean, I still probably got, I would say probably 300,000 or 400,000. I still owe the fire and the sheriff. I have some different things that still have not come out of that. So as it gets closer to the end of the budget, that number continues to decrease. And so as you go through it, I would say there's a whole lot of calculations that are considered into that number, and a lot of different areas of the revenue, all those kind of things. Just on the estimates, I think we'll be about 26% at the end of budget. I agree with you right now. It is still fairly high. But as you go through and you start estimating out the cost for the end of the year and where your revenues are coming in, it really does change a lot. So,
Thank you.
as you get closer to the end of June, and I think that's the one important thing to understand about the budget. Our current budget that we're in right now, the 2026 budget, it may end June 30th. We will still get bills for that budget clear into the middle of August that are dated in June that we're going through and paying. And so to where we finally get down really close to that number is when we finally are done with the budget. And usually I would say about the middle of June, towards the end of June, we're pretty close on our estimates where we're going to be. The guys are really good about really watching where they're spending, especially as we're coming down to the end of the budget and making sure we're staying within our boundaries, and same with the office. Once we get to this part, it's really making sure everything's falling into place. So there is a lot of work in this part of it. So.
Yeah, to be clear too, so that the state doesn't require that the percentage fund balance stay that way throughout the year, but that it reconciled in the right range at the end of the year.
At the end of the year, yep.
Where everything is in.
And just in the audit reports, I've seen it called out several times as being over.
Yeah, during the year, it'll be over.
Yeah.
No, it has been an audit note in the past. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the number does not, just to be clear for anyone who calculates these things at home, it doesn't include non-spendables. It doesn't include non-spendables or restricted funds in that.
So-
You only include the non-restricted, and unassigned, assigned or committed, but not the others in that calculation.
Yeah, there's a lot of that goes into that number.
So Darren, my one question would be, what is our plan for decreasing the vehicle fund?
We just need to start going through and not transferring as much money in there.
Which then leaves more money.
Which puts money in other places.
Okay, so, and that will be part of what we do.
Yeah, that'll be a continued discussion as we move forward.
A single truck purchase, I mean, if something breaks down massively, those are big ticket items.
Yeah.
They are, but they're not 1.6 million.
Right, but a couple of them will make a large dent.
Coming soon, Cybertrucks and
Speaking of cyber, can you comment on cyber, basically the IT services? The IT services across the board, including cyber insurance, it looks really high. Like, what are we getting for our money there? And should we be looking to hire? You could pretty much hire somebody, obviously not a specialist, but that's when I look at it, there's lots of categories where it's like, wow, this is a lot of spend. Someone finds that stuff, it's really high for organizations, a lot more sophisticated and complicated than this.
So I would tell you, our insurance for cyber security is part of our.
Not the insurance, IT services. I mean, how do you go in there? It looks like what we pay on somebody that's outsourced. So, you have your equipment, you have your services, managed services, and then insurance. But I hope we're not paying that for cyber insurance. Maybe we need to. That's just something that, like, as an uneducated outsider, it's like, that's a real huge category. It seems pretty high.
Yeah.
Darren, repeat his question, please, because if you would.
He's asking about cost for IT and cyber security and contracted services.
Yes. Or is it the professional and tech services line item that you're referring to?
Yeah, and it's probably more like, hey, how does someone like me get visibility? I don't know, that is just, hey.
So you're probably talking in the non-departmental under the professional and technical. There's more than just IT in that. All software as far as Microsoft, all those kind of things fall into that same category. There are some engineering things that may fall into that depending. Yeah, it's just not that portion of it. There's multiple things that fall under that professional technical. And so it's continued to be in that ballpark range. I will tell you right now, we have a contract with an IT service that takes care of all that. It is a pretty reasonable cost compared to other bids that we have received, and compared to those. And so that has more than just that in those categories. And that hasn't been a question to me. There seems to be a lot of professional and technical. Part of that has to do with the account it is. So you have professional and technical in planning and zoning. You have professional and technical in non-departmental. You have water, you have professional and technical, which has to do with engineering, it has to do with electricians, it has to do with people that are specialized in different things that we do not have on staff, that we hire to come in and do things. And it could change in a number of different ways. So.
Yeah.
I have a question. We're kind of in a unique water year this year, right? In which snow mitigation services probably weren't used at the rate that we're used to, and we allocated resources for those items. Is it possible that those resources that we didn't use could somehow be reallocated in this budget for drought mitigation or different things to help with parks or other things around what we know is going to happen due to the lack of water around different infrastructures and different things in the city, in order to, properly reallocate whether it's payroll or, or funds that we just didn't use for snow removal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I do know what you're saying. So snow removal falls under roads, under that department there. And it can be moved around within that department, and there's nothing we have to do to change that. If we take it out of that department and put it into another, we have to come back, have to amend the budget, we have to show why that change is happening and why we're putting it there. But within that department, yes, we can use it for more things.
So we potentially advance, I don't know, a cul-de-sac or something that maybe is planned out at a later.
The next overrun.
Yeah. So it will stay within there, and it may be used as just rolling over to the next year. We did purchase 300 tons of salt this year, thinking that we would be using it, and it's we got it still. We'll have it next year. We won't have to purchase it to begin with. It'll be sitting in a shed.
So is that, that begs the question then, do we adjust what we put in?
Yeah, well, we may adjust our salt for this next year.
Yeah.
And
I know that's dilution. Those are
yep. No, those are things that I look at as we're going through the budget. I sit down with Public Works. We go through all our different departments. We talk about items we need, things we want, that would do whatever, how we can do the job with what we have, projects, not only for this next budget year, but the next 5 years, the next 10 years, how those may change during that time. And then we look to that, and then we try to plan for that as we go through the budget. I also do the same thing in the office with the office staff. We sit down and look at what's working, where are we at on computers, do we need updates, where are we at on equipment in there, what will make your job easier to do. And we go through that process and we look how we can do our job more efficient. And that's how I go through and start putting the budget together. So I work with every one of the employees on it. So each one of the employees have buy-in. on the budget. And then I turn around and then I begin working with the council as I put it together.
At the risk of, just one, just real quick, at the risk of, I do think that we should probably move on from this quickly. We are at 9 o'clock and we are not voting on the budget tonight, but we do have to vote on at least 4 items. So if.
We will have
Darren was hoping for direction from us. I think we have agreed.
You have the direction, and I'll move forward with that. Just a reminder, there is a public hearing for the tentative budget. And that's when the opportunity for the community is to come in and voice their concerns. The tentative budget is adopted, but it is still a work in progress, and we continue through that. And then we have also another public hearing when we adopt the final budget. So there's a lot that will still happen through this process that is going on. So.
Just was wondering, under general fund administration, I see that the treasurer report, everything's broken out. Under administration, could that be broken out for the roles of the jobs that are in that? Because is that, I'm assuming you're under.
I'm part of that. They're all done percentage-wise throughout the whole budget system. Because everybody, as you know, we have a very small staff. So there's percentages that are put into each one of them of this is how much time this individual's in here. This is how much time this individual's in here. And this last audit, I spent probably 25 minutes with the new auditor that we had, showing him how those percentages work. So it's divided up between office staff and different things as you go through there. It's not just one person in any one of those things.
Is it possible that, like, maybe you just break out reports? Because obviously staff all together, you have yours.
Are we?
Well, I broke it out in different ones too, because I'm not only am I just doing administration, I end up doing stuff in building permits, I end up doing stuff in zoning. So it's just kind of broken up everywhere throughout the whole thing.
So is yours kind of divided, so then when we see.
The biggest portion of that one is mine, yes, I will tell you that.
So Darren, are we regularly updating the Transparent Utah site?
At the end of the,
Every quarter or something? Or is it just once a year we have to update it? So we update the Transparent Utah site, and that is supposed to show the individual amounts for every employee.
Okay, let's move on to action items. 7.1, approve or deny award bid for, to award the bid for the 2026 street maintenance. That for ACE.
I motion to approve or award the bid for the 2026 street maintenance to Asphalt Construction and Excavating for $95,809.01.
I have a motion from Gary.
Can we keep the chatter in the room down, please?
I have a motion from Gary and a second from Blake. Is there further discussion on that bid or that work? All in favor of awarding that bid for the motion that Gary made, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. The item passes unanimously. Item 7.2, approve or deny resolution 2026-05 to adopt a social media policy. We have made a few edits in that, so I would, make a motion with the edits.
Motion to approve the resolution for the 2026-05 to adopt a social media policy with the stipulation that we remove item 2 and modify item 3 as we discussed in discussion items and item 12 as discussed in discussion items.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, so I have a motion as described from Gary and a second from Eileen. For further discussion on that, on this motion.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Grant.
Yes.
Councilmember Jacobs.
Yes.
Excused. Okay, that policy is adopted unanimously. Item 7.3, approve April 7th, 2026 City Council work session minutes. Everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the work session, and 2 sets of minutes here.
I did look at those, and I do have a small question. They didn't seem to be as detailed as some of the other minutes. Was there?
The work session or we're looking at the work session.
Work session minutes, they just, as some of the other past minutes, is there any reason why they weren't as detailed? I didn't find anything wrong.
What are you
with
looking
it.
for?
I think some of that part was the work session, there was a lot of talking, and so as we went through it, we tried to just get most of the
general points
of everything for all the different conversations.
Okay.
So it's probably not as detailed as far as everything, but we tried to make sure we got all parts.
Okay, yeah, and I didn't find anything wrong with it, I'm not trying to, insinuate that, I just was curious, so,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, that's true. They're a lot harder to write, in those sessions. Has everyone looked them over? Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
Motion to approve April 7th, 2026 City Council work session minutes. Don't write that down that way.
Motion from Blake. Do I have a second?
I have a second.
Second from David. Let's see, all in favor of adopting, all in favor of the motion, say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Those minutes are unanimously adopted. And item 7.4, approve April 7th, 2026 City Council minutes.
I'm trying to see if I did change a couple little things, but I did have a question on these minutes and I can't remember. And so it's in red on there above 5.3 a little ways. And it says, talking about it says, as a result, the city's contracted CPA, and then it also said auditor. Okay, so you took out auditor, so take out my red stuff too then, because yeah, that was my question, because I think it's 2 different people, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so that was what I was just wondering about, and I wanted to make sure we talked about it.
Very good.
The only other ones I saw were on the names.
Yeah, I changed a couple names,
Okay.
just because, yeah, personal acquaintance.
Motion to approve April 7th, 2026 City Council minutes as amended.
I have a motion from Blake. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second from David. All in favor of that motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Minutes are unanimously adopted for April 7th. Thank you, council. Calendar items.
Can we go past discussion items, please?
Sorry, tabled items and past discussion items. There's nothing listed.
I would like to say that I would like our next meeting to include discussion on our general plan intentions and the opportunity to vote accordingly. So that's 3 of us that would like that on the next agenda.
Just for reference, our ordinances do not name a number of people as a way to get onto the agenda. Our ordinances state that the city manager develops a budget and the mayor approves it.
That's
There's no other
budget.
authorized process.
It is
Sorry, agenda, did I say budget instead of agenda? Agenda.
so the state laws regarding that do not apply to our city.
Well, I haven't been able to find a state law that's current, so. if you can find
Have
one.
we asked our lawyer?
Yes, he hasn't been able to find one either.
Okay. So you're denying
again,
it?
I don't see a need to vote before a discussion.
Okay,
If I
so-
have a discussion, it makes more sense to have a discussion first.
So my question to you, Mayor, then, is, if I could, why are we scared of doing this? What is,
Hey,
we
Why are
have
we
a
scared?
lot of people that are interested, and yet we are not moving forward.
I'm not gonna entertain a question like, why are we scared? I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm sorry. but that's not a-
In order to be transparent,
It's a good faith question.
why do we not want to
We're
open
having-
this?
We're having a meeting, we're having a work meeting, and we're going to have a discussion on it. I don't see why we vote before we even talk about it. So we are going to move on. Calendar items, April 28th.
Do you mind if just point of clarity for me, do we need to vote to do something before we meet with planning commission?
So,
We don't.
we don't, we can meet with them. It's just a matter of if we're going to express our intent to the state to do something about it.
Right,
There's no need to express our intent to the state. We will have a discussion. And things will come out of the discussion, and sure, that will be enlightening for all of us. Calendar items, April 28th, 2026, Planning Commission meeting, May 5th, 2026, City Council meeting, which includes public hearings to adopt the tentative budget. I believe will also be, oh yeah, it's listed here. Adopt the tentative budget as well. It's also a public hearing to adopt an amended version of Title 7A-4 General Fire and Fireworks Regulation Update to accord with the map that we recently adopted as an updated map for fireworks. That's going to be an important map and set of rules for everyone to be familiar with in this very dry fire year. So with fireworks, and it applies to backyard open fires and fire pits and things like that. So we need to really make sure we look and know what those regulations are.
Just a quick question.
Yep.
Didn't we already adopt that map?
The map, yes, with the updated ordinance to
Okay,
correlate with the map,
All right,
is what this is for, you bet. May 12th, as has been mentioned, a work session with City Council and Planning Commission to discuss the general plan. That will begin at 6 o'clock in this chamber. And that is everything, so I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
From Blake? Do I have a second? Second from Gary. All in favor, say yes. Oh, we don't have to vote. Motion. Adjourn.
I would like to vote on it and say yes,